What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Sir Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Sir Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
On by Paul Patella. On for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day!
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Top shot.
Oh, the goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everybody and welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast. Full-time show with me, Joe Redmond, after Burnley's demoralising defeat against West Ham on Saturday. 2 late goals. We'll get into it, obviously, the crux of it and our opinions of it all. But 2 late goals were a bit of a hammer blow, if you will. You like that one?
Really?
Hey, thank you. 85th minute and what, we're at 91st? I don't know. I've not checked. I'm not overly bothered, if I'm honest. But if you're watching on the YouTube stream, you can see that I am joined by Sam. He's from Clarets Roundup. How you doing, mate?
I'm not bad, mate. Are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm better now. It's Monday. I were in a mood a bit yesterday, and I feel like when we do it on Sundays, it is better because we're a bit more emotional. And Mondays,
I'm a bit in my own feelings at that moment. I'm a bit in my own feelings.
Yeah, same. But unfortunately, I was working yesterday, so we couldn't do it. And obviously, down at the bottom there, you can see Neil. How you doing, mate?
All right, mate. How's it going? Hi.
Yeah, good, thank you. Good, thank you. So we've got the bye and we've got the high now. Thank you. And we'll also have the salute later as well.
The podcast listeners are going to be like, what?
Yeah, those who aren't watching, Sam waved at us, so I just started replying.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was.
Yeah, there's people that don't watch, but at least you've explained it for them. Keep your comments coming in. It's good to see everybody here. The listeners are quickly rolling in. Icky Punk says, where are you? We're here, mate. Mike says, battle for 19th on Saturday. Come on, boys, we can do this. I'm not that pumped for it, if I'm honest, mate. I do think we'll win, but again, what am I basing that on other than the fact that they are absolutely dreadful, but I know we are as well. William Baxendale says, evening all. Evening, mate. How are you doing? How are you well? Harry says, missed the last few eves because of work, so good to watch live. Would have been much better with 3 points, or wouldn't it just, mate? Jay Hartley, 1882, says, good evening, lads, up the Clarets, evening. GST says, evening, lads, evening, mate. And Jay Hartley says, the end of the game was so painful, especially as I'm in the cricket field and right next to the West Ham fans. No matter where you are, mate, it was painful. I'm sure those of you that couldn't even get onto the turf found it painful as well. But I had one of my moments. I've not had one of these for about 18 months now because this season I've not been too bothered because we started slowly. And then we're playing teams like City, Villa and Tottenham, and I weren't expecting anything from them games as we had debates on. But it's got to the stage now where when we're losing at Palace, I'm like, oh, we're crap anyway, so I'm not that bothered. And obviously last season we were so good. But then you get 1-0 up, you give us the hope, and then you just kill us like that. I had one of them moments where I stood up and I was like, fuck yeah! I don't like it when I do that, but sometimes it happens to me. But it's just one of them moments. Just one of the moments where I can understand the frustrations that anybody else would have. But before we get started and before we ask the lads their opinions of the match, I just want to quickly say that we are delighted to announce that the Turfcast podcast full-time show is now officially sponsored by Wave Car Finance. Wave Car Finance are a local car finance company who specialise in getting you your dream car through their fantastic one-to-one personalised service. Their finance-first approach ensures that you can secure the very best finance in a deal tailored to suit you. and they can even settle any existing finance agreement and swap your current car into a new one. And to celebrate this brilliant new partnership between Wave Car Finance and Turfcast, if you mention Turfcast podcast to them, they will give you a voucher worth up to £200 to spend at the Burnley FC Club Shop on completion of your finance deal. So why not pop down to their stunning showroom in Whalley, or give them a call, or even just send them an email or message them on social media to start your new car adventure today. And don't forget to mention Turfcast to basically just get £200 of free Burnley FC merchandise. But lads, that's out the way. Sam, I'll start with you first. I do like to let you stew, but you might have to jump off early, so I'll get some of your opinions in first, get some of your heated debates in. People love it when you go off on one. But thoughts on the game, mate?
Yeah, even more disappointing with how much better it was. And
yeah, I felt that.
I almost feel like with that game against them in that moment, I feel like there's no better time to have played them. Injuries, no Jared Bowen, like, you know, a lot of the key players out. We had a really good opportunity to really give the game to them. In fairness, another side of the Premier League that we all hate, that we'll probably talk about at some point, genuinely killed our chances from that as well, because we should have had 2 penalties. Like, that's just absolutely ridiculous that wasn't given. However, it again just shows the lack of grit and grind we have in games. The same grit and grind that we managed to develop over last season that this team just isn't getting. Like, the first couple of games in the Championship, we were exactly the same. We were like, you know, we just want to see a team get a lead and keep it. We don't want to see, you know, pure dominance for 70 minutes and then the ball gets lumped into the box and they score. That's literally how they scored both their goals. Both their goals, you know, I mean, a bloke that's never scored a professional football goal ever in his life managed to score against us. And Souček, I mean, that is such poor defending. And I feel like the defence, it's getting a bit boring talking about the defence, but there is no way that you can defend that, if you'll pardon the pun. But there's no defence anymore. Like, there just isn't. There's no way to defend it. That defence is horrendous. If you have 6 minutes left in a game and we switch off that badly that we go from a winning position and lose in 6-7 minutes, shocking once again. And another thing to point out is Kompany got it so wrong with them substitutions. Them substitutions killed us. We went from having Brownhill in centre midfield, who I actually thought was playing really, really well in midfield.
Covering so much ground, weren't he?
But that moved into right midfield. Like,
yeah,
right mid or left mid. He moved into one of the wide midfield roles. And I'm just sat there like, why have you... That's not clever. It's not tactical what you've done. All you've done is move a player from a position that he's playing pretty well into a position he doesn't know how to play, really, and shove somebody else in who's not, you know, who, might be fresh leg, but they haven't caught up to the pace of the game yet. Like, and just said, oh, go out and sort that out for next time. No. Keep the midfield the same, sort out the attacking players, rest players, change other positions. Don't... Honestly, them substitutions were poor, and I think Kompany will know that himself as well.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like the subs were stupid. I know why he's brought Cullen on, but like you said, he's not adapted to the pace of the game yet. But it's the moving of Brownhill to right mid for me. Like, Brownhill, like, he's had his critics recently, but I think that new DM partnership, I know we've discussed it a million times, so I won't go into it too much, but that DM partnership of him and Burge is now working very well. And I think Brownhill played well. Burge played probably better out the two, but him and Burge are working very well. So why he has then split that up and then moved him out there, and then all that protection that we had from Brownhill is now gone because he can't do anything out on right mid.
But when we have that many wingers, like, what that doesn't prove, that just proves the naivety again. That just proves the naivety again, though. We've bought so many wingers. So why have you tinkered that substitution to the point where you've gone, well, actually, I think this central midfielder will do a pretty good job on wing. We have 4 wingers on bench. Just bring a winger on. Like, a natural winger would be better to put on the wing than Josh Brownhill at right midfield. Like, to me, it's just the most logical thing to do. That to me is tinkering that somebody like Pep does, or Pochettino.
Yeah, exactly that.
We are not that team, so don't tinker like that. Like, that for me is just a ridiculous substitution. And I just think we got caught out through that. But I also think the reaction of the players was shocking, and the reaction from the defence was poor as well. Like the fact that we literally had 2 goals conceded in 7 minutes when we had 3 points wrapped up for so much of that game. Like, regardless of the penalty situation, which we will probably get onto, like there's no excuses now. This is now starting to become absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, no, can't really argue with it. Neil, your thoughts on the match, please, mate?
Same as Sam's really, but I think it comes down to me is just that lack of leadership. I said it in my fan reactions. There's no leaders in that team.
Yeah.
There's nobody in that team, from Alan Pace to Kompany to any player, who knows how to compete at this level, and it's showing now. Because if he had any experience about him, he would have seen that game out. Agree about the substitutions. For me, to try and see that game out, if they had anything about him, and it goes back to what I was saying about Kompany needs to change the style of play a little bit. I would have brought Ekdal on and just brought another defender on and just showed it up a little. That's the
logical one.
Just showed it up a little bit. I don't know what. Move Brownhill to the wing. Why? We don't need to score another. We just need to hold on to what we've got with like 5 minutes left or whatever it is to get a vital win, quite a big win as well against West Ham. But it's just that naivety rearing its head again, isn't it? And just a complete lack of leadership and anyone who's got any experience, and that comes down to the recruitment drive of just buying young players. If you've got no leaders in the team, you can't see games out. But there's nobody looks able to compete at this level for me. Sander Burge probably, but the rest look like they don't know how to play the game, because it's not just play the game. I mean, see games out and hold just that sort of thing. The dark arts of it really, and they just don't look like it's too naive for me. And I agree about the reaction of the players. It's that they've got. I see it on Twitter all the time about that soft underbelly, and we really do. Like as soon as we've been breached once, that's it. Heads go.
But to go on that point as well, like the reaction from the players on Instagram now as well. Like I don't know about anybody else, right? And I hate trying to say it like I am and then make out like everybody thinks it. Like, but my opinion is, these players coming out at the end of all these games and saying it's coming, it's all. What are you watching? What are you seeing that makes you think that? Because I'm paying money to watch you do that and go and be 1-0 up and get to the 86th minute. I could have put my phone down, right, as not a Burnley fan, and come back and been like, Burnley lost. No way, they were 1-0 up at one point. Like, because I'm a Burnley fan, that's ridiculous. And then you've got players like Bayer and Brownhill coming out saying it's coming, lads, it's coming. What?
Yeah, but Kompany annoyed me, mate. Kompany annoyed me because in his press after, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, or a hard one to take, that one. It is. It was the start of you, mate.
It's hard for you to take, and I get that, and I'm not, I'm not alluding to the fact that like they're not bothered because they make loads of money, but like us fans, like that's possibly what you winning is possibly one of the best parts of our weekend. You lot go home to your 6-bed, and I know you can't think like that. And even as I'm saying it sounds ridiculous, but you lot go home to your 6-bedroom houses with your 6-figure bank accounts and get to sit there. And if it doesn't work at this club, you'll move to that club. And if it don't work there, you'll move there and stuff like that. And if you're not bothered about this football club, which it looks like a lot of them aren't at the moment, like you all get to, and then you come onto Twitter and you sat there like, oh, it's coming, lads. It's coming. Yeah. Should be tell me, knock on my front door now and tell me you're sorry. Don't tell me in a bloody Instagram post, oh, sorry we didn't win, but we've only played 14 games, but it's coming. There's only 4 more games until we've played every single team in this league and we'll have had 1 win. So you tell me who you're now confident that we're going to beat. Because I can tell you 1 team, and it ain't even Luton. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think next time we play Luton, we get beat by him. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. We're sat here week in, week out talking about the exact same things. Nothing seems to change. And the only thing that seems to change is they put silly things out on Twitter as well, like, new week. What? I haven't even gone over last week yet. What do you mean, new week? Give me a picture of stand-up. I'm still reeling from 2 days ago when we were 1-0 with 7 minutes left. Put a big apology out or something, or don't post anything for a couple of days. Show the lads working hard. Don't sit there and be like, new week, as if I'm sat there at home like, try and forget last week. It's all right. Unfortunately, mate, I can't forget that because that is ridiculous.
A new week that's going to end in disappointment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. Saturday's coming along. We'll have the whole hype for Saturday, and then it'll be like full time. Unfortunate result. Everybody. Oh, sorry, lads. Oh, it's coming. Stop doing same stuff. Just change it all. Just do everything different. It's so annoying. Oh, I just want to win a game.
Don't we all? Jamie says, new week, same shit. But yeah, keep your comments coming in. Inky Punk says, like Dice always used to say, sometimes the best thing as a manager is to do nothing. Stick with. Yeah, and I feel like if Kompany hadn't done anything, then the result might have been different. But I can see
that's inexperience, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I can see what he's trying to do with some of the subs, but that Brownhill moving him out right, I will, for as long as I live, I will never be like, I will never understand why he thought to do that. But what we'll get onto the Kompany thing in a second, but this will lead me on nicely for it. Is this square pegs round hole thing? You mentioned it, Sam, like sticking Brownhill out right mid for no reason whatsoever, other than just to seem like you're tinkering for some reason. That's what it feels like to me. It's just, it feels to me like I can't look at that and think I can understand why he's done that, but it's not worked out. I just feel like he's done it to make it look like he's a big brain man, like he's a big brain tactical man, like he can do something like incredible that no one's ever thought of.
Yeah, is it though? Or is it that he's actually doesn't trust some of the signings he's made now?
But it could be that, yeah. It could be that. But if he doesn't trust Jacob Bruun-Larsen, then why doesn't he trust him? I feel like he deserves a chance. Zoror, I mean, I know Zorori got on, didn't he? But there's some others as well, like I said, that didn't get on. That didn't get on. Jacob Bruun-Larsen's one. Some others off the top of my head, but it might be that he might not trust his own signings.
Yeah, I think there's clear signs of that. Like, we don't see Trezor feature very much anymore. Like,
yeah, good point.
Things like that.
Completely forgot about him.
This is the thing, though. Like, I just think we're in a weird position now as well, and I feel like the majority of fans have like come round to the fact that, like, things aren't great. But then you have got people like that in the chat that are like, just sit there like, what do you want? Like, what do you mean? What do we want? We want to win a football game. We've played 13, 14 games and lost 12 of them. Like, so apologies.
Yeah,
apologies that we're not just sat here smiling after losing 2-1 with 7 minutes to go when you 1-0 up. Like, it's just weird comments like that. It's just so strange. What do we want? To not lose a game with 7 minutes?
Some fight. I'd say some fight would be nice. We had a bit more fight this week, but it's just a constant mistakes doing the same thing.
Exactly. But we'll talk about the positives. The positives are there was 70 minutes of better football. The positives are we had a lot more goal scoring opportunities. We looked a lot better. We were more comfortable on the ball. They never really threatened us a lot. And then the other side of it, which is the annoying part, not the side of it which is, oh, it's unfortunate that we lost. They were a bit better in the last 7 minutes. It's the same thing every week. The defense switches off. The goals that we score are too soft. We don't have the grit and grind. So forgive us if we don't sound happy about talking about the same thing over and over and over again. And if you enjoy talking about it, make your own podcast and talk about how happy you are. Like, honestly, ridiculous.
You can call it the happy pod, the happy turf pod. But obviously that brings it on nicely. I said that we're criticising VK's subs then. There's been quite a lot of criticism for Vincent on the socials. A lot of it justified for me for them substitutions. And the Vincent Kompany outshouts are now getting louder and louder and louder to the point where there's like the big, like I say, big Burnley fans, but Burnley fans that have a bit of a platform on other podcasts and pages and stuff like that are now saying that they want him out. I wouldn't get rid of him yet, personally. For me, it's a case of he's, I know people don't like talking about it, and neither do I, but I feel this is Alan's point of view, so I'll make this point. But I feel like they had a plan to come up, but not come up so soon. So I think Alan's looking at that and thinking, well, I can't get rid of him yet because we'll come up a little bit early. And Alan as well, I've just bring that comment back in there. Says, give us some ideas to solve it rather than just being negative. It's not up to us to solve it, Alan.
We're not the managers, mate.
Talking about it.
It's not up to us.
We're talking about the negatives.
Is that pace?
About what we're reacting with.
That's pace asking. That's pace asking for
you have to outline the negatives to find out what the solution is. We never just say, this has happened, that's happened, and never say what we do to change it. Every single week we talk about how we change it. We've talked about Trafford, we get stick for it. We've talked about a different back four, we get stick for it. We've talked about a different midfield, we get stick for it. We've talked about different attackers, how many wingers we've bought, we get stick for it. Like, so honestly, mate, just give your head a wobble, honestly.
To be fair, Casey's on your side. He says, nice to see some passion. Really bored of the happy clappers, feeling like everything is going to be okay. But let's just get back into the Vincent Kompany thing before everyone falls out in the comments. Not having another thing like last week again. For me, keep him. I would. But for me, right, I want to keep him. I do want to keep him. And I've always said that if we went down, the best case scenario he would be the guy to lead us back up. The best case scenario would be to stay in the Premier League, obviously. But if we went down... But I am now at the point wondering where breaking point is. Not for me personally, but for the club and Vincent. Because you can't just lose every week. Yes, there's been signs of improvement. And I think a lot of fans are looking at that, myself included, and thinking we're going to get better. And I do think we will be better in the second half of the season compared to the first half, because the signs are there of slowly getting better. But if we've lost, 6 in a row now, 7 if you include the Everton game in the Carabao Cup, at what point... If we continue losing every single week, are we just going to be like, well, maybe it's time for a change? Because for me, I don't want it to get to that. But I think I've got to play devil's advocate here a little bit and say, is there a breaking point to this? Like, we can't just lose every single week. So, Neil, I'll start with you this time. First of all, are you VK in or VK out at this moment? I think I know your answer, but just for the listeners and viewers.
I'm in there's a few reasons. The first one is I still think he's got a bit of credit in the bank for what he's done. Because he inherited a club that had absolutely nothing. We had no players, nothing. And he galvanised everything. So he's got a bit of credit in the bank for that. And we sort of, even though we all predicted that Burnley would do all right, we sort of knew it would be difficult this year. The other one is, it's his team. So who's realistically going to come in and get a different tune out of them? Because it's his team, it's his idea, it's his philosophy. So you're thinking, well, all we're going to do is get another manager like him. And I don't know who that is. The other one is, could we afford to sack him? Because he's just signed a 5-year deal and we've just spent 100 million quid on wingers. And Alan Pace has been giving it the big one about, it's like when you've married the hottest girl in town or whatever, he's going to look pretty stupid if he then sacks him 6 months later. However,
Pace ain't good,
I also think that naivety is at the board level as well, that they'll start panicking, and because of the inexperience at that level as well, they'll think, right, sack him, new manager, rather than thinking things through logically. So I'm VK in, but I fully get if they do pull the trigger and fire him, because I think that'll come from them panicking a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like that's what they did with Dyche. Although I think in the end, looking back at it, I do feel like we probably, if we'd have got rid of him earlier, we might have stayed up that year. But that's a different debate. Sam, your thoughts on the VK out shouts and what you think the breaking point would be, or what your breaking point is if we just continue to lose every single week?
My breaking point would be go down next season and stagnate. That would be my breaking point. Go down and don't come back with a vengeance, because Vincent Kompany's done absolutely. He's worked wonders with a team, and he's created such a setup. I just think slowly he's starting to chip away at that statue figure that we all have in our head of Vincent Kompany. Like, you physically can't doubt anything he's done. And slowly there's just little chips going away, just little chips. And I think it's down to, like Delquire at left back, not looking at the goalkeeper situation. I don't think Trafford's the problem now, but I do think in some of the earlier games, there was times where he could have come out of the team. I think tinkering with the defence, I think, the fact that we've bought so many wingers and things like that, like these little things are chipping away. And then now you look at the results and it's the same. I still don't think Vincent Kompany should go. I think Vincent Kompany is easily the manager to take us down and back up. We did the same with Dyche. Dyche took us down and, 100% we backed Dyche as well. But there's a comment just above. Can't remember who it is. Let me see. That Ray 833. That comment's fantastic. We knew we were up last Christmas and we were coming up and we didn't prepare. Like, of course, you can have this conversation about like we're ahead of schedule and there's situations where we haven't had chance. We've had more than enough chance. knowing how far ahead we were at Christmas last year and how far ahead we were in January, to have planned for this situation. What I feel like we've done is almost plan for another championship season, or we've planned for a Premier League season where we didn't actually think we'd compete. So we're going to buy players with the Premier League money to bring down as projects in the championship. And whilst, of course, some fans will look at that and be like, okay, like, you know, that's absolutely fine. I personally wanted to see a team that had done so well last season kick on and really progress into that next stage. So not only are we just a Premier League team, we look an established Premier League team from the get-go. We look like a team that's really going to try and compete in the transfer market. I felt like at the time we did do that. But I just think we've got a good manager, we've got a good structure, we have got good players, and if we do go down, it's not the worst team we'll go down with, and these players do have a lot of upside and a lot of potential. However, I do think that the Kompany outshouts are a little bit like they're a bit far-fetched, I think. I mean, yes,
I think
I understand.
We got criticised earlier off Alan for being petulant. Yeah. I think that the Kompany out chants are petulance personified. That is petulance for me.
Yeah. Arguing about a performance or arguing about how annoyed you are at the fact that you've lost 2-1. In my opinion, I feel like he's more justified than turning around and looking at that result and then instantly going to a bigger picture and saying we need a different manager. Yeah. That's my opinion. Like, for me, that's petulance. For me, petulance isn't being annoyed at losing 2-1. Like, or the manner of losing in the way that we've lost 2-1. For me, that's just being a football fan and thinking differently. We can all think differently about football. That's fine. But I understand, like, I can see where some people's mindsets go in, because, like I said, some people might not put Kompany into that stature. They might not look at him as this unbelievable, fantastic manager just yet, because, of course, he's done a fantastic job, but he has only been here one season. Like, he's not got years and years of success behind him like Dyche does. But
yeah,
for me, there's no way that we should go down with a different manager. We should go down, if we go down with, in fact, right, okay, slightly different answer. If we go down with a record low of points, that's when I'd start having a look at Kompany. But I don't think we'll be at that stage at all.
No, I don't.
I think that's the only time where you'd look at it.
I put a tweet out, because I don't know if you saw, Sky did that prediction, and Burnley's prediction was 12 points, because obviously we're a quarter way through the season now, so they just worked it out like that. So it was about Everton, wasn't it? Everyone that's in that position now will still be in that position except Everton because of the points deduction. But I put that out saying there is no way that we will finish with 12 points or less. And does anybody here think we will? And I was shocked at the amount of people who were saying, well, we'll do well to even get that. Well, if you are one of them people watching now who said that, then I will take 100 English pounds bet that we finished either on 12 points or more. So DM me if you want that bet, because you could end up paying for my extension. So there is that. I do want to quickly play devil's advocate again and go back to this comment from Ray that obviously Sam pointed out. He says, we knew last Christmas. It's still on screen for those looking. But he says, we knew last Christmas we were coming up and never prepared. I think we tried to prepare, but we got it wrong. We brought in Foster. I mean, I've said it's going to sound harsh because what he's going through, but that's ended up going wrong because obviously we're missing him now. Obviously, the priority is he gets better. I understand that, and I stand by that. And obviously, we're teaming up with Casual Minds and stuff like that, and helping, Claret Crumpet with the mouthful out. I'll say helping. I've done it once, but trying to retweet it as I can. But that's gone wrong. And then the Ekdal thing as well. We signed him, and both of them were brought in with a view to playing the Premier League. And now Ekdal's had an injury. All right, he's on his way back. And then obviously Lyle's had his struggles. So I think we have tried to prepare, but we've just ended up getting it wrong.
Yeah, agree.
Mm-hmm.
Agree.
Yeah.
I completely understand the devil's advocate side of it. Like I say, like it just feels like we've said over and over again, though, like the naivety with the boards there. Like Neil says it all the time. Like the board was naive, and what we've done and what we now see is a naive transfer window from a naive board with and in the nicest possible way with a naive Premier League manager, not a naive manager and not a naive bloke, but a naive Premier League manager. We have been in so many situations now where we are seeing issues with what Kompany's doing. There are issues with Kompany substitutions. There's issues with Kompany's team selection. There's issues with the way that we're even trying to line up. But amongst all that, there's still vast amount of positives that Vincent Kompany brings to this club. His recruitment ability is fantastic. His ability to turn a team from hoofball into, you know, one of the most well-oiled, well-drilled championship sides that's ever been seen, one of the most dominant championship sides to ever grace the EFL. And we literally won the league in record time compared to anybody else. Even a team that won with 106 points, we got promoted before then. Like, we literally have so much to be grateful with Vincent Kompany. It's just right now he's getting it wrong. But does that mean that we need rid? No. It just means that things aren't going right now. But if you become a trigger-happy club, you end up being a team like Watford, who come up, have a manager, go through 3 managers in the Premier League, go down, stay there for 2 seasons, then all of a sudden come back up again, and you're like, who's their manager? Well, they've been through 9 now. Like, do you know what I mean? I'd rather be a club that sticks with a manager than just gets trigger-happy and gets rid.
Yeah,
completely agree. Alan says, I'd rather be dreaming big than going back to never dreaming beyond 17th. And that, Alan, is the point that we're trying to make after all the drama from earlier. Even if we go down and stick with Kompany, we'll still be dreaming big if and when we come back. So I think for me, the Kompany outshouts are extremely premature. I kind of agree with Sam's logic, although if we lost every single week for the next 6 weeks, that probably will be the breaking point. But for me, even if we went down, I'd keep him. But if we then start doing a stalk in the Championship, then maybe it'll be time to get rid and look elsewhere. The penalty. Now, obviously, I can't show the footage of it. You've all seen it. But what I can do is bring in a picture. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, I obviously go on the match. I sit at the opposite end, quite in line with it, if I'm honest. Kind of like on the left-hand side of the goal, but I sit in the Jimmy Mack stand, which makes me even more of a bellend for shouting and screaming when that goal went in with all them kids around me. I apologise. But I genuinely, at the time, I tweeted it at the time, thought he was looking for it. I even said to the guy next to me, nah, we're looking for that, weren't it? I don't think it was a dive. I thought he initiated the contact at first when I saw it. So I kind of understand the referee getting it wrong. Having said that, I've watched it back since, and the referee's literally in front of it. But then it would be hypocritical of me to have a go at the referee when I myself thought he was looking for it at the time and didn't think it was a penalty, regardless of whether he's 2 yards away compared to my 2,000 yards away. But how the VAR can then turn around, look at that and be like, yeah, good on-field call that, Jeff. That's fine, or whatever his name was. It's just beggars belief. Like, referees get things wrong. That's fine. And that's what VAR was brought in for, because referees get things wrong. They are humans. Now, I guess the counter argument to that is it's humans on VAR. But how you can look at that with all the angles that we saw and decide that wasn't a penalty is beyond me. And as Danny Aston says there in the comments, in a nutshell, Corley O'Shea and Arsenal last yesterday is the same. They got it and we didn't. And that is what I said to the guy next to me. I went, I think he's looking for that. And he went, yeah, weren't he? Went, yeah, well, I bet Man United get it if that were the situation. And literally 24 hours later, it was the situation and Man United got it. Lads, I'll start with you, Sam, this time, because I started with Neil last time. But how on earth has VAR not given that?
Because the Premier League doesn't care about anybody outside of the top 10. We don't make them enough money, so they don't care about the decisions that they give. They don't look into them as much because we don't do much for them being in the league. So why would you look at our decision when you could look at United, who turn over so much revenue and give the Premier League so much money? Why would you not? To be fair, I think that's the fickle answer, really. I just think there is a clear bias with top 6 and top 10 clubs. I do think when it's a heightened game, like Everton and Man United, is already scrutinised over the fact that they've had, this points deduction that people don't agree with. There's already scrutiny over that from the Premier League on Sky Sports with all the banners there. So I feel like they've just looked at that game and gone, we physically can't get anything else wrong today. Like, we have to get everything spot on. So what they've done is they've looked at every decision over and over and over again And they've done exactly what VAR is there to do in Man United's game. Man United's game, they looked at it. They said to the referee to go over and look at the monitor. They've shown him all the angles. The referee's given the penalty. They've moved on. So how come in our game, we didn't even look at it? How come in our game, it didn't
Well,
even
they did look at it. Oh,
No,
it came on the screen.
But it doesn't seem like they looked
Not
at
in the
it.
same depth.
It seems like they just
No,
went,
yeah, probably not in the same depth, no.
never mind, play on. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like a sit down for 2 minutes, go, oh, I've seen the angles a couple of times. It felt like you've seen it back, it's gone off, and the referee's gone like that. That's what it looked like, and that's how quick it was. And I just feel like it does come down to the fact that we, why would you look into a Burnley decision more? And it sounds really fickle, it does, but like this is happening over and over again. Like, of course,
I do. So I'm sorry, I was just going to say I didn't mean to cut you off, but I do think there is an element of that in which you are correct. I don't, and there's a comment in a minute. Where's it gone? Ryan Collins, the Premier League corruption's fine. It's on level with FIFA. I don't think it's intentional corruption.
No,
I just think there is an unconscious big club bias because, as you say, the big clubs are the ones that make them the most money. They're the ones that are in the biggest games. Yeah, they're the ones that are in the biggest game. So when they're in the biggest game, Sam makes a good point on that. Of they're thinking, right, this game is massive, lads. We have to get everything right. When it's Burnley versus West Ham on a Wednesday at 3:00, no one's arsed.
Exactly.
They're not even arsed themselves. It was only Burnley and West Ham fans who give a shit about that result, and maybe Sheffield United and Luton fans as well. No one's arsed, and I think it's the unconscious bias creeping in to them.
But have you ever seen I can't remember who it was. It's really going to annoy me. Is it Mark Clattenburg who did who did the video where he's like, to you and me, Birmingham versus Millwall on a Friday night means nothing. It means nothing to me. It means nothing to you. But for 90 minutes, it means everything to that set of fans and everything to that set of fans. So you have to get into their psyche and understand how big of a game that is for them, because that spoils one set of fans' weekend, unless you draw, which could spoil both sets of fans' weekends. But you're in now a position where I feel like referees all completely just look at teams like Man United and Chelsea and stuff like that, and like it is unconscious bias. Like, it just is. Like, they're not doing it purposely. I never said that. I don't believe that they actually sit there and go do a couple more VAR situations in the game for Man United because it'll be on telly at 4:00 on a Sunday. I don't think they'll do that, but I think what they will do is they'll be like, let's have a look at that, because it's a big defining moment in the season that we need to do it. Whereas, like you say, if it is just Saturday 3:00 West Ham Burnley, like, to some people that has no relevance at all. But you sit there and you look at the Forest game, and we should have had a goal, so that's 3 points in the bag. We've had the Bournemouth game, we should have got another point. Like, we're now in a position now where we should have had another penalty. We could have been 2-0 up. Like, we could have been cruising in that game and not even give them a chance. We should have been, okay, let's say that they still ended up scoring twice. We should have still had a point. So we're in a much better position in the league if VAR does its job properly, and it hasn't. And we've had apology letters from the Premier League and things like that. So in order to get an apology letter from the Premier League, you have to have got something wrong. So do with that what you will. But the Premier League is also not helping us. As bad as we can be sometimes, the Premier League is also not helping us. And that is a real shame.
Yeah, I agree. Neil, your thoughts on it all, mate? Excuse me.
No, the same. I think it's just that we don't generate enough clickbaits for them, do we? Because it's all social media now, football anyway, and we just Burnley West Ham. No one's clicking on that to review it 10 times, whereas they will for Anthony Martial going over. I saw a comment there. It's Scott about the Man United one, because VAR's for clear and obvious errors. I think they did look at it to that extent because he did book Martial for diving, and I think that was obviously then an error. So I think there's an element of that in the Man United one, but yeah, I think there is an unconscious bias towards the top ones. But I do think yesterday was because he booked him and it was clearly wrong. But yeah, it does come down to that it doesn't have an impact in any title race. It doesn't have an impact in where the money is. So it is just a bit of an unconscious bias, really.
Yeah, I agree. I do feel like this. I'll get the comment back up. It's from everyone's favourite statistician, Solent Clarets.
That's sort of what I mean. Is that because I think Martial was an error?
Yeah, but I mean, ours is an error. I mean, again, I'm in a devil's advocate mood tonight, so I'm going to do it again. But it is a clear and obvious error. That foul is a clear and obvious error. Souček leaves his leg in. It's a clear. It's a foul. It's a penalty. That to me is a clear and obvious error. It shouldn't matter whether Koleosho got booked for diving or not. It's still a clear and obvious error. So, and this clear and obvious error thing, I just think it's what VAR used to hide behind stuff. Oh, we didn't review it because it wasn't a clear and obvious error. Just get rid of that bullshit, man. I'm not asked whether something's clear and obvious error or not. Whether it's a penalty or not, whether it's the wrong decision, it should be rectified, clear and obvious or not.
But do you remember back in the day? Like, do you remember back in the day when we played Bournemouth and I think we beat them 3-2 at home, right? And we had a penalty shout that wasn't given. They went up the handball, scored, and then gave the goal. And then they went back and changed the goal off, gave us a penalty, and we scored from the penalty. Like,
I was
that's
at
what they are there to do. That's what it's there to do. Look at the phase of play, find the issues, point them out, say who's done what first, give the correct decision. In this situation, it is now dumbed down to one simple thing. Is it a penalty or not? And to come away from looking at that with whatever still image you've seen, whatever angle you've looked at and say no penalty, we've been absolutely robbed of a penalty there. There's no other way around it. That is an absolute robbery.
I still think VAR should just be a last resort. We should just leave it to the refs like it used to be. And VAR is literally just, if the ref says, I've no idea, lads, help me out. That's literally it. Because at the minute, VAR is reffing the matches. We don't need a human ref. We really don't.
Exactly.
So it should just be leave it to the refs. And if he's not sure, that's when he goes to the monitor. Other than that, they don't get involved.
I don't even know what to do with VR anymore. I just think I was a massive advocate of bringing it in. I say advocate like I had anything to do with it, but at the time I worked at like a radio station, and I was the only person at this sport radio station saying, no, it'll be good for the game. I'm sick of refs getting stuff wrong all the time. It's just added another layer of I don't know, the onion or whatever people keep referring it to. It's another layer of human error, and now because humans are behind the screen, there's just more people getting it wrong. And I just can't believe that people who sit behind these screens, who have 15 replays, zoom in, zoom out, still look at these decisions and get them so wrong. It's just everything about it is just not corrupt. Like we said, it's just all the bias and the politics in the red is just all in there. It's just all
like I say though, like it kind of, in my opinion, goes down to the ruling, because the ruling should be concrete. It should be a case of if there's contact, it's a penalty. It shouldn't be left open to interpretation by other people. That's my point. Like, it's so annoying that like we're even having this conversation about having a video assisted referee, which by the way has been in the Premier League for 3 or 4 seasons now. Like, it should be fine tuned into being better, and I feel like it's worse. I feel like it doesn't help situations that need help. Like, it's a penalty, so go back and look at it. Look at the contact and just say it's a penalty. How can you look at that and sit there with 3 people in a room looking at all these different angles and then go, whoa, it's your decision, and then just sit there and they go, I'm not going to give. We'll leave that. Like, move on. Like, it shouldn't be like that. It should just be, if there's contact in the box and he goes down, regardless whether or not, you know, there is, of course, simulation. I know you need to take that into consideration, but there is no simulation in that. Even if he initiates the contact, he's still left his leg out. We talk about handballs, arms being in natural positions. What's natural about putting your leg out like that? Like, it's the same. It should be the same principle. It should be, if your leg shouldn't be there, don't put it there, because then you wouldn't have somebody running into your foot anyway. Like, I just think we just need to. We just need to go back to basics with VAR and look at it and fine tune the ruling so that you physically can't leave it open to interpretation. Because right now, the fact that you can have a million different opinions on it, and you go on to Sky Sports at the end of a big game on a Sunday, and you've got Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher going at it for hours, talking about how he thinks it is and he thinks it won. All that does again is just create distance between people that think VAR should be there or not. Like, because all you're doing is pushing the narrative yourselves as well.
Roy Keane said it. You say going over there. Roy Keane said it on his podcast. I don't know if it's called The Overlap or whatever it's called, going over his podcast. And Roy Keane said that VAR must be causing so much self-doubt in referees that they've got someone in the ear constantly that they don't know what to do. They don't know what decision to make. They don't know. Am I right? Am I right here? Is this the right rule? You know what I mean?
Just let referees officiate the game. That's what they're there to do. Like, so let them officiate it and step in when you really need it. Don't officiate the game for them, because what's the point? Don't have refs then.
Exactly.
Yep, fair enough. Well, enough about that. Let's get back to how shit Burnley are. We've spoken about how Trafford isn't the problem, and I do agree with that. Although
I thought he played all right on Saturday, by the way.
He did.
I just want to say
that I tweeted that myself. Yeah,
I just want to say this because I know I've been on his back all season. I thought he didn't do a lot wrong on Saturday, to be fair to him.
He hasn't done a lot wrong for about 3 or 4 weeks now.
No, I just wish he'd just come off his line. Just come off your line. You're not glued to it. Yeah. That's all you've got to do. But other than that, it's fine.
But he's not. This is the thing, though. He's not the finished article now. That's also part of playing this young goalkeeper. Like, we also need to look at that situation and say we're playing a project goalkeeper anyway. So these things won't be in his game yet. So you just either have to accept that those things are going to happen, or like we move on to a different goalkeeper. But we've talked about that for weeks, and it hasn't.
Yeah, I don't want to. That's what I mean. I don't want to get back into that. I was going to say if the both are still fit, I would still go with Muric personally. But I don't think Trafford is a problem at all. I think we can all agree the defense is a problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not learning. They're not learning. There's no sign of them. No, they're not learning from any mistake they've made. There's no improvement weekend.
That comment.
All 3 goals against
as well. That comment at the bottom. Zonal marking. Sack it off. It's rubbish. We're so bad at it. Don't do something that, like, honestly, it just annoys me. Like, do you know what I mean? You won't go into an egg and spoon race and forget your spoon, would you? Like, don't do zonal marking if you can't do it. Like, it's just so annoying. Like, perfect. It's such a perfect comment.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although someone did explain to us a few podcasts ago that it's more of a hybrid. But again, just get rid of it because it clearly isn't working. So is it then? That kind of leads me on to my next question. And Sam, I'll start with you this time. So I'll start with Neil. Last time, I'm just laughing at Solent's comment. What is for those obviously that can't see it, I'll just put it on screen. He says O'Shea's teeth are black. Money on them. You can tell. What were I going to say now? You've lost me. Oh yeah, that's it. Do you think it is then the system that is the problem, like the defensive system? Because we have this hybrid zonal. I'll get rid of that comment actually, because we have this hybrid zonal sort of like man marking thing. Or do you just think the defenders aren't good enough, or do you think it's a mixture of both?
I do think it's a blend. I think it is a blend. I think we've invested so much on the attacking quartet of the team that we didn't invest enough in the defence, and we are being punished for that. But I also think with what we've got, we're not protecting them. We're trying to get players that aren't at the standard of what we're trying to do something that they're not capable of doing. So when we try that, we wonder why, like, it's the same as like you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. It's like, what are we expecting? Like, we are literally putting players in that can't do it. So if they can't do it, why are we doing it? We should just go back to sitting in a bank of 4. And I know that sounds so hypocritical because we've literally talked about like days gone by and things like that. But in this situation now, I feel like it's just to say that, like, put the back 4 and just say, sit in a bank. You don't have to play out front back. You're just working together. And that might mess the midfield situation up, because I know one of our fullbacks likes to drop into midfield. So what? Get your midfielders playing as midfielders. We don't need a fullback playing midfield if it's not working. Like, just fine-tune what happened. Because, like I said, the performance was a lot better. Just try and fine-tune what has been going right for us, rather than... but then look at the fact that the defence hasn't been fantastic, and look at that and be like, right, what can we do to sort that? Just give them a bit more support. Drop the DMs a bit further back if we need to. And I know, again, that goes against how we're trying to play, but you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and being like, oh, hey, we keep conceding loads of goals. It's like, well, yeah, because you're not really doing all different. Like, you're just doing the same thing over and over again. Like, if you bang your head against the wall and wonder why you've got concussion, people had said, shut up, it's your own fault. So, like, you know what I mean? It's the same thing, isn't it?
That's the best way I've ever heard the definition of insanity being described. If you bang your head against the wall, you got a concussion. Just shut up. that's the best way. Obviously, all 3 goals against Arsenal that we conceded were crosses, 2 corners, and 1 standard cross or free kick. Can't remember. The 2 goals against West Ham were crosses. So that's 5 consecutive goals that I can think of before I go even further back that were crosses. Is that the marking then? Are we thinking that that's the marking system? Obviously, Sam's just had his say, so I'll come to you, Neil. But are we thinking that is the marking system then, or a mixture of both? And again, just another question to throw in for you, Neil. Does Ekdal make that better?
First part, I agree. I think it's a mixture of both. I think he's trying to play a system that the players aren't capable of playing. And it goes back to what I said last week about how he needs to change the style of play a little bit and do what Sam's just said there. Go back to basics with the defence. Stop trying to be fancy and just let them play to their strengths rather than trying to make them do something that they're clearly not capable of doing. The cross situation is because Trafford doesn't come off his line, but as you say, it's a work in progress. And ordinarily, you'd want your keeper to come out and claim a lot of that, but that'll come with experience and presence, because he's just a boy, isn't he? He hasn't got any physical presence at all. So if he comes out for a cross, he's just going to get absolutely hammered. So that's part of it. But Ekdal, does he make a difference? I think Ekdal's pretty similar, but he's better with the ball at his feet, I think. So I don't know. You know,
he's taller, isn't he, as well?
He's taller.
He's better in the air for me. I remember
he's got a bit of defensive IQ, though. He knows he's not fast, so he knows where to be. Like, you're not an international centre half for no reason. Like, that's my thing with Ekdal. But to be fair, again, sorry to cut you off really quickly, but I just think it goes back to the whole, like, just try something. Do you know what I mean? Like, just try something. Like, you physically can't get worse than what's going on now. Just put it in. Like, if you do that from an attacking standpoint, you can turn around and be like, why would you change that? Because Koleosho was doing so well. Why would you start Zaruri? They're ones where you can go back and say, why would you do that? This situation is, we have been so lackluster defensively that we're now in a position where if you just put Ekdal in, like, what are you losing from that? What are you losing from trying Ekdal and Delquart together? What are you losing from that? Nothing. I know we don't like tinkering, but and that, again, I feel like we contradict ourselves a lot at the moment. But it goes down to trying to change things. It goes down to trying to look at what we want to change. But I do think Ekdal is an international centre half for a reason, and you might as well try and shove him in and see if it works. And if it doesn't, you just go back to Dara and Bayer, really, don't you?
I mean, for me, I know we don't like tinkering, but sometimes there's a difference between tinkering for the sake of it, which is what I get annoyed at for Kompany, like sticking, Charlie. Instead of putting Charlie at left back, putting Connor Roberts there, putting Delquart there, and it just not working when we had a ready-made left back. I know he was trying to do something a bit different, but he just tinkers for the sake of tinkering. Same with putting Brownhill on the right, but bringing Ekdal in, who, as you mentioned, Sam, is a international centre half. I wouldn't call it tinkering. I just call it, a good decision. So for me, the defensive partnership against Sheffield United on Saturday has to be Ekdal and Bayer, and I do think we will do better defensively because of that, but also because Sheffield United are dreadful. So we might end up winning that match. I think we will win that match. But then a lot of people will be getting overexcited about it, which, I understand. But Neil, your thoughts? I know Sam's got to go soon, so I'll start wrapping it up. However, I do want to ask Sam something first, so I'll go to Sam first in case he has to shoot.
Putting the socks on as we speak.
So I'll go to Sam first. Obviously, Alan gave us a bit of grief earlier by saying, well, what would you do to sort it then? Sam, what would you do to sort it?
I'd stick with what's going now, because what we're doing now isn't horrendous. But I do then think that even though we're getting better, like, can we? Is it just genuinely the lack of quality that we have? Is it just that we're not ready for the Premier League now? Is it that the players that we have are not Premier League ready, which means that regardless of how much better we're playing, we still physically can't go on and get 3-4 wins in a row now. I don't think that team is capable of more than potentially 2 wins in a row. I just don't. And I think the only way that I would say you can change that is put Ekdal in, have a look at some of the players that played with us last season, like Benson and Zaruri, and have a conversation when Benson's fit, if he becomes fit. Have a look at Zaruri and say, is there a possibility that we, can try them together, regardless of how good Koleosho has been? And I really, really do think he's good. Could you change that just to see if it works? Just once. Just try it once in a cup game, which we can't do now because I don't think we're in any cups anymore. I don't know. I think it's possibly one of the hardest questions you could possibly ask right now, because it does feel like there is a lot more negative than there is positive, and I don't feel like you can really go on the positives, because in all the positive performances we've had, we've still lost every game.
Yeah.
So it's like I say, are these positive performances just not enough? But like I say, I wouldn't take I wouldn't take Koleosho out in this situation. I'm just spitballing an idea. Like I wouldn't take Koleosho out of the team. I'm just saying, what else could you physically change? Because right now I do feel like we have tried everything, and it might just come down to the fact that we are just not ready.
Yeah, I think the only change I will make right now is bringing Ekdal in. Potentially change the forward, but you've got Jay up front. The only other person that you can really bring in at the minute is Obafemi. I'm not sure he's going to do anything different. So for me, obviously, in an ideal world, Foster would be up top, and I'd bring Ekdal in the back. And there's nothing much else I'd change at the minute because I like the midfield. I think the midfield of Brownhill and Burge is working very well, despite us lot saying for about 15 episodes of the trot, going, he ain't a defensive mid, Kompany, what you doing? Now he's a defensive mid, he's a good defensive mid at that. And I think that's working well. It's just at the front, I don't like us because we're toothless, and I've said it a million times, and I'm sick of repeating myself, but we're toothless up front and spineless at the back. So I'd change Jay to Foster when we can and put Ekdal in the back for O'Shea now because he is ready to do that. But I'm not sure if that would, be an amazingly different thing. But I do think we'll be better at the back, and we'll definitely be better up front with Foster. To be fair, if we brought Foster in. But Neil, what would you do differently?
No, same. Bring Ekdal in, and it would be Foster up front definitely. I just think I think to answer the original question, it's just that they're not good enough. That's all it is. It comes down to it. They're not Premier League ready. Kompany can try him his system he wants, but I just don't think they're good enough. But Ekdal, I think Ekdal is, because he plays. I know you've said he's international, but he plays at a decent level international as well. So it's not like he's playing for San Marino international level. You know what I mean? He's a decent
San Marino level. Catching strays.
Yeah, and
they've scored like 3 games in a row now. So I know.
I know. There's a comment there that he's got 7 goals in 50 for his previous club, so he's obviously got something about him.
He's a good player. We saw it when he came in.
He's a good player. So
he scored that goal against Norwich, didn't he?
Yeah.
Our best performance last season was Norwich away. I genuinely still to this day think that was other than Blackburn at home. That was our best performance of the season. We were on fire that day. They got nowhere near us, and they were in and around the playoffs at the time.
Yeah, so bring him in. It would be Foster up front. Midfield is fine, I think. Now that's pretty settled. That's not the issue, like you say.
Yeah, even Zeki in the 10 worked very well as well.
Yeah, I would still bring Muric
10
in.
up front with Jay, whatever it was, the system. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I would still bring Muric in purely for him to come and get the crosses and cut that element out. It's not. It's still the fanboy in me, but I know Trafford's done very well.
If I could choose one of the goalkeepers to start, I would choose Muric. But I agree with the fact that Trafford isn't the issue.
It's not the issue, no. It would be Muric purely for him to come and get the crosses and cut that element out of it. But yeah, for me, the change would be bring Ekdal in. But we'll see on Saturday, won't we? Because I've suspected this season that Kompany's got this stubborn side to him, so we'll find out on Saturday, won't we?
Yeah.
To me, it's like he's determined to make it work, and then he can just turn around and say, "Told you." You know what I mean? That's what I think it is, genuinely.
Potentially, mate. Potentially. Sam, if you need to shoot, feel free to shoot. I just want to ask one more question, but if you need to go, you can go. I'll just ask it, Neil. Positives.
Pop it off.
What positives were the better side for 75, 85 minutes. Amdouni were class. Koleosho were class. Burge were class. I thought Brownhill played very well as well. Like I said, that defensive mid pairing is working now, working very, very well. Have I missed any more positive? JBG played well as well.
No, mate. I think we our positives are the style of play does look like it's coming together. We just do look like we don't have the quality at both ends of the pitch. That's all it looks like. It looks like we have players that can do it and get us to where we need to be, but we don't have currently the player to finish it off, and B, currently the players to keep the ball out the back of the net. That's all it looks like. But
both ends of the pitch were terrible, but in the middle we're decent.
No, but playing with the ball, and one of the biggest positives was Sander Burge, man. He's such a player. He's so good. Like his ability to win the ball, and like you say, it sounds contradictory because we were saying for weeks put him in the 10 role. In that 8 role, he's been very good, but that's been forced upon him, and he's now taken it in his stride. And I do think that's a huge positive.
Yeah,
I think
that just shows how adaptable he is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the fact that we do have interchangeable players in the front, kind of 4 or 5 positions, is still a positive. I still think it is. I think we just need to get our subs right. So if you're bringing Koleosho off, don't bring Odebear on because it's just the same. Bring Brun Larson on, swap wings, change it around in that way. Give a fullback something else to think about. Like that's where I think we should be at. And I do think we have that ability. But the only thing is now, do we have the time? Do we have the time to be doing that? That's my only thing.
I agree.
But
that's the problem.
My mouse has died as well, so I can't even leave the call. So you're gonna have to kick me off. But I
thought you meant your actual mouse, and I'm like, why are you telling me your pet's died live on air?
My mouse is currently on charge and will not turn back on. So,
well, we'll bid you farewell, Sam. You're welcome.
Much.
We'll see you later. Have a good football training session. Pleasure. I'll text you in a bit, mate.
Put your coat on, mate. Put your coat on.
Oh, yeah. Mate, I'm freezing. I'm going to get
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
There it is. See you later, mate. Neil, I'll let you wrap it up then. Mate. Positives.
Performance was good for 70 minutes until the subs, which knocked it for me. Koleosho was excellent. Amdini was good. For me, though, it's just that that decision making at the end, which will come with age and experience. That they're making the wrong decision at the end, so they're shooting where they should pass it and stuff like that. But other than that, they were great. Trafford is looking better and better each week. Fair play to him for that. And Sander Berger, is really good. That adaptability on Sander Berger, I think, is what Kompany wants from his players. You know, that they can adapt but other than him, there's nobody who's got that quality to adapt and try a different role for me at the minute. So there were positives there, but I think on the whole, it's down to those subs and Vinny getting it wrong on Saturday for me, and just that lack of leadership thing that we've already mentioned.
Yeah. Obviously, we're going back on ourselves a bit there, but I do think if Kompany didn't make them changes or made better changes, we could want to win that match or at worst draw it. So I do think that lost it on Kompany. Now Sam's gone. There's no mad rush. I mean, I'll have to start tea soon and make it look like I've actually done something while the missus have been at work before I start working 25 minutes. But I do want to ask you and everyone in the comments, get your man of the match shouts in. This will be the last question. Get your man of the match shouts in. I know a lot of people are going to go for Sanderberg. And I fully respect that. But I am going to go with Koleosho. I thought he was fantastic. He's another one, you know. A lot of people talk about his lack of experience and stuff and how it's affecting us. And I'm not denying that's wrong. I do think, especially at the back, the lack of Premier League experience is affecting us. But Luka Koleosho, he got a bit of stick for his end product not being great, which I just think is his shooting more than anything else. Which, again, he had a shot in the first half, which some people could say it could have done better with, but the angle was tight.
That's where he should have squared it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there is that. He just put it at a good angle for the keeper. I think either go across goal or square it. It were a good height and a good angle for the keeper to just palm it away. But for me, I'm going to go Luka Koleosho. It's every single week. He's the only one that drives us forward. He's the only one that gets past, their defenders. Fantastic every single week.
Do you know what it is with him as well, mate? No, I was going down that angle as well. It's Sander Berger or him, but I'm going for him. Do you know what it is with Koleosho? He's looking stronger every week as well. Like he's not getting bars off the ball. He's not getting sort of out muscled. He's looking stronger and running and driving at defenses, which is good to see. So I'm going for Koleosho as well.
Happy days. Getting loads of comments coming in. CP Clarets says Koleosho. Duduze Makai says SB, which obviously means Sanderberg. Alan says, man of the match is not in question this week. Burge was performance of the season. Him and Brownett are working really well. Don't disagree with that, mate, to be honest with you. An interesting one. Scott says, Amdouni was a positive. I tweeted my three main positives were Koleosho, Burge, and Amdouni. Very impressed with Amdouni. Now, if only we could learn to put the ball in the back of the net and keep it out, we'd have a really good squad because we've got some.
Amdouni does look a player. It does look a very, very good player.
Yeah, he really does.
It's the final product for me.
Yeah, and he's another one. His shooting's not the best. He's had a few chances where he's cocked up a little bit. Now, I know he scored a decent goal against Forest, obviously. But he's another one. But yeah, thanks, Neil, for coming on. Like I said, I'll start wrapping up now. We have just got past that hour mark. Thank you to Wave Car Finance, the new sponsors of the show. It's a pleasure to get them on. And like I said, if you are going to start looking for a car and you're thinking, who should I go with? Wave Car Finance. I use them for my new car. It's not just a random sponsor. Like I have used them recently. And then chatted about the podcast and stuff. And then this came about, and they were brilliant. Like all I did was send him a message on Instagram saying, I want this kind of car. What can you do? And within 2-3 days, he'd sent me an email of all these things. Fantastic. And then, of course, if you do go to Wave Car Finance, you get 200 quid worth of Burnley FC merchandise. So thank you to that. Danny Aston says, question for you both. I'll quickly do this one. If we went down and this team stays, do we win the league? Easily.
Yeah, easy, mate.
Easily. Depends who stays down and who comes down with it. If Everton came down with us, maybe not. But if you have joined the stream late, obviously when I press end live, it does stay on YouTube for you to watch back at your leisure as and when you want. And if you're going out somewhere soon or you want to wait till the morning because you're going to go to bed in a minute, then I will put the podcast out pretty much straight away. So that should be up there ready for you to watch within the next half an hour. But Neil, thank you for coming on.
No worries, mate. Always a pleasure.
Sam, I know you're not here anymore, but thank you for coming on. Thank you, everybody in the comments for commenting. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody, on the podcast for listening. I will be back on probably Thursday due to work commitments with the pre-game show. But I will need to find a Sheffield United fan for that yet. But Sheffield United fans are quite good. I tend to find one quite easily. But thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And we will see you next time.